happens when you start paying attention to how people build real money as independent business owners, as entrepreneurs, not Instagram money, not I made 10K in a weekend money. I'm talking about the quiet kind of money, the kind where someone makes 100,000, 300,000, $1 million in a year, simply by being known for something specific. And if you watch closer, something interesting starts to appear. The women aren't louder, right? These are not the loud women. They're not posting all day. They're not dancing for the algorithm. They are doing something very different. They're precise in how they describe what they do, precise in who they help, precise in the proof that they show, right? Precise in one action they want someone to take. And LinkedIn, the platform most people treat like a digital resume, becomes something else entirely. It becomes their authority engine. So today I want to break down the pattern that I see again and again with high earning independent consultants or coaches, because the truth is the women making 6 figures on LinkedIn, 7 figures on LinkedIn, they're not doing more, they're doing less, but with far more intention. And once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it, right? So, for decades, the narrative we grew up with was career, promotion, leadership, retirement, right? But now the most interesting careers look different, right? Maybe they're fractional leadership roles, consulting contracts, advisory positions, board seats, speaking in thought leadership, speaking all over the world, right? Jumping on a plane and speaking in, overseas. And many of the women building these kind of careers are making $100,000 to $500,000 a year independently. And, I know you've seen them too, right? You're like, if you're in any of the local moms Facebook groups, there's always people in there talking about how can I make money working from home. And, I can't jump into all of them, but I truly believe the best way to do that is to hang out your shingle for something that you're really, really good at. And you don't have to build a massive company. You just have to build clear authority. Right? So you've heard me say this. So many LinkedIn users treat LinkedIn like their resume, and their resume is all about who you used to be. And their profile answers the question, what do I hire this person for? Right? Like they're looking for a job, and you want to make sure that you are doing something differently, right? You want to be doing something differently. You want to narrow your message, because precision creates trust. Right? Like I can tell you, when I first went into business as a marketing consultant, I was doing social media consulting in general. And I remember at the time I had taken Marie Forleo's B School, and I was going to do all this cool stuff. And I did do a lot of cool stuff, and I'm still doing a lot of cool stuff, right? And I said, I'm going to do a webinar. And I decided to how to make money webinar, right? Something like that. And 4 people came or something crazy. And then one of the things that I saw was I have a strong, while I talk strategy, what I love is the energy around all of this stuff. So I am a Reiki master. I'm a certified dream coach. I have a lot of fun things that I do, that I just do for me, for fun, not necessarily for my, to run a business on, but it's a part of who I am. So I decided to run a workshop called How to Make Money for Your Reiki Business. And hundreds of people signed up because I was more specific, right? And I could do the same thing. How to make more money with your yoga business. I narrowed my message, and things started to explode. And then I narrowed it even further, because now people were starting to get to know me as a social media consultant. And somebody needed a social media speaker. They'd say, my name would get thrown out with 100 other people, which was amazing. But when I started to narrow in on LinkedIn, now when people needed a LinkedIn speaker, 100 people said, call Karen. So instead of my name being one of 100, now 100 people were saying, call me, right? So the more you narrow your message, you build trust. Precision builds trust, right? So who you are, what is the problem that you solve, and what's the outcome? I help people make money. Weak. It sucked. It didn't make me any money, right? I help newly promoted women executives lead their teams confidently in their first 90 days, right? That's more specific. It works on LinkedIn because it's hitting keywords. It's also hitting the recruiter filters, right? There's algorithmic relevance. The more you talk about the same thing, the more the algorithm knows to send people to you. If your positioning is vague, you just disappear in the search, right? So I want you to do this across your headline, for example. Instead of coach and consultant and speaker, I want you to put something like helping tech companies reduce leadership burnout and retain top female talent, right? In your about section, tell us a story. Please write it in first person, not like in Karen Yankovich is known for, right? Tell me who you work with. Tell me what problem you solve. Tell me a story about that. Tell me a story about what success looks like, right? Like something that makes you, like I like to say sometimes I want to put these things on my refrigerator, like my kids' report cards when I have success stories from my clients, right? I love that. Tell me about that in your about section. Remember that it's called an about section. It used to be called the summary, right? And a summary is boring, the Cliff Notes version. About is interesting. Tell me about you, right? Make it interesting. Make it very specific. Let it tell the same story everything else is saying is telling. Your experience section, nobody cares about your responsibilities. Start describing results, right? So instead of saying like provided leadership coaching to executives, say something like, I helped 42 senior leaders reduce team turnover by 18% in 1 year. Right? That separates the hobby consultants from the high earners. And I want you to be a high earner. I want there to be more wealthy women in the world, right? The world needs you to make more money. The world needs your voice. And it comes from you being able to have the freedom that money gives you to do more of this, right? All right, I want to talk about another mistake that I see people making on LinkedIn, and it's a big one. Too many options. Download this, book a call, join my program, subscribe here. Too many options. You'll notice I very rarely have more than 2 options in my featured section. Listen to my podcast, book a call, or whatever I might be promoting at any given time, but I'm never going to have 5 or 6 or 7. I typically like to drive people to my newsletter because I know my newsletter is where they can get to know me better, right? If they're new to my world. High earners remove friction. They remove confusion. They design their profile around one primary next step. Right? Your LinkedIn profile should function like a mini sales page. Lots of white space, one call to action, right? One next logical move. Book a consultation, download my framework, view my services page, right? You have an option to have a custom profile button if you have a premium account. And I honestly think, there's a lot of good reasons to have premium, but this is one of the best ones. And if you look at my profile, you'll see it. I have it in my profile. I'm actually looking at it right now, so I can tell you exactly what it says. Give me 1 second here to look at my profile. I believe it says, the custom button basically says, view my newsletter. Right? View my newsletter, like I mentioned earlier. I can have it say book a call. I can have it do a lot of things, right? I can take it to a something that builds my email list, download my free blah, 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 right? Most people ignore this, but it's so powerful, right? Visit my website. Although I don't really like visit my website. I would do like download my blah, 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 right? Or book a consultation or view my portfolio. Another place that you can put this information is on your services page on LinkedIn. This is something so many people overlook. You have the option to use the services page on LinkedIn. Very few people use this well, but it allows you to give like a clear service description. Because remember, your profile is all about you, not about your products and services, but your service descriptions can drive inquiries directly to you through LinkedIn. It comes up, brings you up higher in search visibility. You're giving LinkedIn more real estate to work with, right? As long as you're being consistent and you're not confusing LinkedIn or the people coming to your profile. You want to make sure it's all really consistent. When somebody lands on a high earning consultant's profile, the next step is obvious, right? Confused buyers don't buy. Confused minds don't buy. But clarity creates conversion. All right, so now we're going to dive a little deep here, right? Because we're going to talk about identity, right? Like it happens on almost every show. This is the deep work because many, many women stay stuck here because this requires you claiming your authority. High earners stop introducing themselves as generalists. They become associated with a specific expertise. Instead of a career coach, you're the person who helps corporate women transition into consulting. Instead of a marketing consultant, you are the person that companies call when they need to reposition their brand after funding, right? This makes you sound so much more confident in your skills. And that's what people want to hire. They want to hire somebody confident. They want to hire somebody that is claiming their authority. I've used this example so many times, but like, you could be a doctor and make $1. You could be a surgeon and make $10. You can be a heart surgeon and make $100. Or you could be a left ventricle specialist and make $1,000, right? I want to make $1,000. Be a left ventricle specialist, right? This helps buyers make decisions quickly because you're making it easy for them. They don't have to weed through 50 people that are generalists. They're like, oh, wait, she does exactly that? That's who I need, right? That's who I need. They choose specialists because specialists feel safer. They feel more experienced, more credible, and they make the buyer trust them more. They build that know, like, and trust factor, that they know exactly what this buyer wants because they speak exactly to what the buyer's looking for. So think about, what do people already come to you for, right? Or what do they say, like, can I ask you something about this, right? These are the kinds of things that help reveal what you can be known for. All right. So remember too that these high earners are not just relying on their profile and on content. They build assets that demonstrate that they are the experts worthy of your investment. Okay. So maybe you have like a PDF of your framework, right? This could be in your download of your custom button, a simple guide explaining your process, right? It shows intellectual ownership. It signals your expertise, right? Maybe you want to once a month publish a case study carousel, right? And telling people the problem, the approach, the outcome. These perform really well on LinkedIn because there's a lot of dwell time. People hang on them and watch them. They combine story, they combine proof, they combine strategy, right? Testimonials. High earners systematically collect testimonials, written testimonials, video testimonials, LinkedIn recommendations, and then they use them in their content and on their sales pages and on their presentations. And this proof compounds. I love LinkedIn recommendations as much as I love video and written testimonials as well. As a matter of fact, if you're loving this episode, we would love a recommendation from you on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to this, right? Or go on over to LinkedIn and write me a recommendation about what you love on this podcast every week, because it's really powerful when somebody asks you for a reference and you go, well, just going over to my LinkedIn profile, there's more than 100 people there that have left me recommendations. Feel free to call any of them. That is a powerful, confident, high earner loving statement, right? You can reuse these things in your content, on your sales pages, right? There's so many ways that you can use this, and you want to be an accumulator of these things. In fact, one great way to get testimonials is write testimonials, right? Think about who in your world you can write a testimonial for that might be able to write one back to you. Be an accumulator of this. That's what the high earners do. They don't need a million things. They go deep on all the things they do. So keeping in mind here that there's a pattern to this. These high earners are building clear positioning on LinkedIn, a clear identity, right? Who they are and how they own who they are. They own their expertise. They own that they're the best at this. A clear proof, right? Testimonials that have other people sharing those same things, and clear next steps. Right? What exactly do you want people to do next? And LinkedIn amplifies that clarity. We've done episode after episode in the last couple months about how LinkedIn loves the clarity. It loves when the more you talk about the same thing, the more LinkedIn knows how to drive people to your profile. And listen, there's nothing better than that magnetic effect of LinkedIn sending people to you instead of you out there spamming people, right? Like, this is what we want. We want to build a strong magnet. So LinkedIn stops being a place to show up, and it starts to become a place where people find you, and LinkedIn sends them to you. It's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing thing, right? So let me just say, if LinkedIn has ever felt exhausting, it may not be because you're doing too little. It may be because you're doing too much that isn't precise. High earning independent consultants and coaches are not chasing visibility. They're building authority, and authority changes everything. Because when someone is known for something specific, opportunities start looking for them. Speaking invitations, consulting contracts, board seats, media opportunities. So the question isn't how do I get more attention on LinkedIn? The better question is, what do I want to be known for? And if that's a question you're sitting with right now, I'm here to help you, right? That's exactly the kind of work we do inside the Visibility Salon. It's where smart, experienced, amazing, incredible women come together to build the authority that attracts the next chapter of their career. You are never going to hear me say, and send out 100 connection requests this week. I want you to attract that business, because then it feels good, right? And that could be more consulting opportunities. It could be more speaking opportunities, thought leadership, real influence. So if you are ready to stop being impressive in private and start being known in the rooms where the decisions are made, come join us. You can start with a free trial at visibilitysalon.com. You know we'd love to see you there. And I'll be back here next week with another episode of the Good Girls Get Rich podcast.